What is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikase Sukas. And of course, as always, I am your humble host, Niko House. We have an exciting show for you today. We're going to be talking about Joe Rogan apologizing for spreading quote unquote misinformation. We're going to talk about that. AOC cheers on Biden's warmongering when it comes to Russia and Ukraine. Not surprised by that at all. And then some national healthcare system officials got caught taking bribes from big pharma. Gasp. The unexpected. That should be expected by everybody by now. All right. First story we're going to talk about today is AOC. Good God Almighty. All I got to say about AOC before we start is I done told y'all. I told you. MCSC told you. When we told you, we were attacked for it now. We were attacked. Y'all remember. And we were trying to be as nice as be as charitable as possible, bro. We were like, hey, look, man. I'm not saying you got to hate her. I'm not even saying you got to dislike her. I'm just saying she moving a little bit funny. Guys, she's moving a little bit funny. And when we made this let's be observant and aware of what we're dealing with here. She still is a politician. Everybody attacked us for it. Let's hear what she has to say on this Russia-Ukraine conflict.
Happening between Russia and Ukraine is of profound concern. And the Biden administration is well within their right to seek a diplomatic resolution to this issue, one that does not hurt the Ukrainian people, but allows them to exercise their right to self-determination and to continue to be a self-determined nation. And so I believe that the Biden administration is well within their right to counter Russia's aggression diplomatically.
We're gonna run that one back one more time.
Now, what is happening between Russia and Ukraine is of profound concern. And the Biden administration is well within their right to seek a diplomatic resolution to this issue, one that does not hurt the Ukrainian people, but allows them to exercise their right to self-determination and to continue to be a self-determined nation. And so I believe that the Biden administration is well within their right to counter Russia's aggression diplomatically.
First of all, when it comes to international relations or politics in general, but definitely international relations, I don't really care, nor does it matter what AOC believes as far as somebody being well within their right to interfere in the politics of another nation, or two of them in this particular case, being Russia and Ukraine. You believe the Biden administration is well within their rights. So effectively, you are actually in support of U.S. intervention, despite the fact that you ran on being an anti-imperialist or anti-interventionist. Literally, the reason that people elect people like AOC is because one of the pillars of their campaigns was, in these specific moments, whether it be with Russia, whether it be with Venezuela, Bolivia, Syria, etc., this is the moment where you're going to be like, look, unequivocally, can't be part of it. If there is an issue, let that issue be handled between Russia and the Ukraine, unless explicitly asked to help, not with weapons. But of course, that's what ends up happening. And even then, I'm like, Because if the Ukraine asks that, for the U.S. to help, you always have to be weary because you understand the influence that the United States and NATO has in that region, and specifically in the Ukraine, especially in West Ukraine. And plus, the U.S. would just lie anyway. They'll just be like, yeah, they asked us for help. And then they'll dare Zelensky to say that he didn't ask for it. But she feels that the Biden administration is well within their right to interfere. The Biden diplomatically, do you understand that diplomacy is not limited to rhetoric? Unfortunately, there is violent diplomacy. Diplomacy comes in all forms, and she's aware of that. Notice she did not criticize the Biden administration sending billions in weapons to West Ukraine, to literal Nazis. Notice that she did not at all bring up the fact that Ukraine itself, the Ukrainian officials over at Kiev, they've all said, man, honestly, we're taking care of ourselves and being safe, because you should, as any sovereign nation. But right now, there is no imminent threat of a Russian invasion, although the Biden administration is pretending that there is. The Biden administration is only pretending that there is a Russian invasion to have an excuse to interfere in the Ukraine. So AOC, no, they are not well within their rights, regardless of whether or not you actually believe that. It's funny that they march AOC out for this shit. They don't march her out to criticize the Biden administration, nor will she in any substantive way. They don't march her out to push for health care. Quite the opposite, actually. They only marched her out to make an excuse as to why health care, universal health care, could not be achieved. But no one is buying Biden's BS. No one is buying Harris's BS. No one is buying Jen Psaki's BS, or our generals, or our joint chiefs of staff. So what's the next best thing? Well, people trust AOC. See, problem with that. What you haven't realized is that the majority of the country's also figured AOC out. So this isn't going to work either. You will not get mass U.S. support to go to war with Russia. You have lost your mind. You know what I saw on Instagram today? I was just, doing my little morning scroll, if you will, while I was walking my pup. And I saw that the Air Force has a rubber chicken test to test your military bearing. Military bearing is how serious can you remain, even in the face of great danger, or in this particular case, great amusement. Bro, a rubber chicken test. That up against the Spetsnaz in negative 20-degree weather. Spetsnaz being the Russian special forces. I'm looking like, wow, this is the military we're about to see. Wow. Don't like our odds. But regardless of all that, AOC is showing us that she is who we said she was. AOC is showing us that, well, some people owe us an apology. Now, we thought it would have been made clear. We thought it would have been made clear when she wouldn't fight for healthcare in the middle of a pandemic and was making excuses to justify her capitulation to Nancy Pelosi and her desire to be Speaker of the House again. That's what she did. That should have been if there weren't enough red flags at that point, which we called out all of them, but that should have been the biggest red flag. You won't fight for healthcare in the middle of a pandemic when you actually have the leverage to do so. You keep saying, we don't have leverage, we don't have leverage, we don't have leverage. The one time that the squad had some legitimate leverage, they squandered it. That should have been the clue, but no, that wasn't it. What about her silence throughout the entirety of the Biden administration? What about her silence whenever they lied to us about giving us the $2,000? What about her silence as people, even before the eviction moratorium ran out, before that, people were being evicted in New York City, in her district, violating the moratorium, and she was silent on it. What about her silence on Cuomo and these nursing home scandals? None of that, huh? That wasn't a big enough clue? I mean, her silence on what's going on in Yemen for the most part, her silence on what's going on in Israel and Palestine for the most part, didn't we just find out thankfully, Assange is going to be able to appeal the decision for U.S. extradition. But the truth is, we don't know how that's going to go. And the U.S. did win their extradition case. AOC is silent on that. Every time we try to marginally criticize her, not to punish her, but to let her know we were listening so that she could then pivot and do the right thing, we were attacked for it. And now they know that there are some sections of the left that are going to defend her no matter what, and they use it to their advantage, like in situations like these. Now, unfortunately for them, no one really cares about what that section, the neo-progressive, latte liberal left has to say about AOC anymore. We know who she is. But everybody's just real quiet about the reality of AOC and how they denigrated and attacked and maligned the character. Not based off of the facts, but based off of their affection for her. They attacked every single person who just tried to be honest about what we were dealing with AOC. We said, hey, y'all might be looking at another Obama. Just relax. Hold her accountable. We're not saying hate her, just hold her accountable. Nope. And now look at this. No, the United States does not have any right to create tension where there was none. I mean, there's like a general tension. What's also crazy is she never talks about the aid that East Ukraine needs because the literal Nazis in West Ukraine are bombing them. They're bombing them. They're attacking them for not being Nazis and for being pro-Russia. I don't know how to say this. AOC, the Biden administration is arming neo-Nazis. Okay? You are claiming that Biden is well within his right to engage diplomatically as he has done so far, which would be diplomacy involving arming neo-Nazis. You are defending, ergo, you are defending a Nazi. There is no other way to explain that. Don't pretend like you didn't know what's going on over there, or you don't know what's going on over there, because if you don't know what's going on over there, well, then you shouldn't be fucking talking, should you? You shouldn't be just saying shit that you don't understand anything about, do you? Should you? You should not. And here we are. AOC just saying what the State Department wants her to. It's funny because before it was brought up about her why don't you just introduce bills? Do something. Do your job. And her excuse was actually, you don't understand how committees work or what my job is. I'm not supposed to be talking about this stuff over here. I'm supposed to be talking about this stuff in my committee. Well, you're not on the Foreign Affairs Committee. Why are you talking about it? Why did you get brought on to MSNBC specifically to talk about that? Because she's a mouthpiece for the State Department now. And people need to understand and accept it. She is a problem. These are the people who told you to vote for Biden. These are the people that some of the progressives or the leftists or the independent minds that you all follow. This is the person that they were attacked over for holding this type of person accountable. Because she wants to defend the Biden administration's quote unquote right to arm Nazis against people in their own country. I guess I'm gonna just sit over here in my little corner of the world and not support arming neo-Nazis, and also not support anyone who wants to arm neo-Nazis, and not go on TV to talk about my support for anyone who wants to arm neo-Nazis, nor will I vote shame anyone for not voting for someone who wants to arm neo-Nazis. I mean, Jesus Christ, how many times can I say Nazis before people get that America is working with Nazis? America's working with Nazis, and they're bitching about Russia. The country that, if I can remember correctly, is known for killing Nazis. AOC is defending the Biden administration's desire to arm neo-Nazis, as long as it's diplomatically. The audacity for her to talk about I just want to help. I want to make sure that the U.S. helps preserve the Ukraine's self-determination, the self-determination of the Ukrainian people. You mean like the Obama and Biden's administration help preserve their self-determination by interfering in their 2014 elections? You mean like that? That kind of self-determination? How the U.S. tries to bully the Ukraine to help NATO and join NATO? You mean like that kind of self-determination? You mean like how NATO bullied Zelensky into falsely claiming that Crimea is going to somehow become part of the Ukraine when they just voted over 93% to not be a part of the Ukraine and become part of Russia? You mean like that type of self-determination? Like y'all constantly interfere in the Ukraine's politics to the point where Zelensky is terrified to challenge you guys anymore? That type of self-determination? You're a puppet, bro. She's a puppet. Also, Nazis. Biden is arming Nazis. He is giving weapons to Nazis. I don't mean in the figurative, oh my God, they're racist and they supported Trump and therefore they're Nazis. No. I mean in the literal, West Ukraine was a part of the Ukraine that was not a part of Russia pre-World War II. Okay? One of the routes that Hitler took to invade Russia in 1941, if I'm not mistaken, was through what was then called just the Ukraine, but eventually was called West Ukraine. East Ukraine didn't actually become part of Ukraine until post-Soviet war, post-Soviet Union. So when the Nazis got their ass kicked, they went through West Ukraine, of course, originally just called the Ukraine. Went through Ukraine to get into Russia, got their ass kicked. They either went back into Poland, Ukraine, I want to say Belarus. A lot of them just strategically made more sense to go through Ukraine. Okay, eventually, obviously, East Ukraine is created if I'm not mistaken, post-Soviet Union. And obviously they're Russian sympathizers because they were literally part of Russia forever. But West Ukraine, still being a little salty about the asses that were handed to them, had a little bit of reservation. You know, a country full of Nazis that didn't get held accountable for anything they did, you'd expect to have a little bit of animosity towards the country that kicked their ass. So I am not speaking in a figurative sense. West Ukraine has been a hub for Nazism since Nazism became a thing, and we literally never stopped funding them. Nazis. I'm gonna keep saying it. God, I feel like people just are not taking this part seriously enough. The last time Nazis were just able to run rampant with U.S. money, they started a world war. Do you see a pattern forming here? Jesus Christ. Okay, on to the next topic. So, Joe Rogan apologized. Unfortunately so. I'm gonna pull up this article for you guys because it's more than just him apologizing, which is what makes it worse. But we gotta talk about it. Joe Rogan apologizes to Spotify and musicians amid boycott over his podcast. He wasn't smiling when he gave that apology. I don't believe them. Podcaster, well, let me zoom in for you. Podcaster Joe Rogan has apologized to Spotify while also addressing the controversy around his podcast. Musicians Neil Young and Joni Mitchell by the way, didn't know who either of them were until they both came out and supposedly were going to remove their music that I'm not quite sure anybody still listens to. But they both recently boycotted the service for continuing to host the Joe Rogan Experience, which has been accused by medical professionals of spreading COVID misinformation. Both musicians have since pulled their libraries from Spotify. The amount of people who actually cared about this totaled out at 0. They forgot to add that little caveat right here. But I digress. Let's continue. I want to thank Spotify for being so supportive during this time, and I'm very sorry that this is happening to them and that they're taking so much heat from it, Rogan said Sunday. He also apologized to Young and Mitchell. Wow, I wouldn't apologize to them. Although I will, just from a respectability perspective, like, I get it why he would apologize to them separately, but at the same time, excuse my French, but fuck both of them. Like, they're the ones who came at you. You were minding your own business, doing the same thing you have done for damn near a decade now, if I'm not mistaken. And they decided to attack you with lies, by the way, because no one actually is able to ever really point out exactly where the misinformation is. Even in this article so far, notice that you haven't heard anyone bring that part up. Let's continue. In a nearly 10-minute long video posted on Instagram, Rogan said he is open to changes to the show, such as booking more mainstream experts after having controversial ones and doing more research on certain topics. Rogan praised Spotify for its latest decision to add content advisories to any material mentioning COVID-19 and direct its users to public health sites for more information. He also thanked the platform for its support. Shares of Spotify were up more than 12% in trading Monday after Citi upgraded the stock, noting it believes Spotify can improve ad-supported monetization. That's a separate thing. I'm not trying to promote misinformation. I'm not trying to be controversial. He really is not. That's the funny part about it. Rogan added, I've never tried to do anything with this podcast other than just talk to people. Quite literally. As a viewer, that seems to basically be, he doesn't have an agenda. It's just, I think the one agenda that he had at one point was that he was supporting Tulsi. That's about it. But he interviewed all the candidates who wanted to go on the podcast, except for, I think, he rejected Buttigieg, if I'm not mistaken. And Biden, if I'm not mistaken, too. I do all the scheduling myself, and I don't always get it right, he added. Rogan has been in hot water with accusations from medical professionals, nobody's saying who they are, that he has repeatedly spread conspiracy theories about COVID-19. Spotify has also been under fire for hosting the episodes. YouTube, for some reason, has not been under fire. Even though a lot of those clips you can find on YouTube. I would say the majority of them, if I'm not mistaken, you could find on YouTube. Also, they're posted all over Twitter. Also, they're posted on Facebook. But for some reason, Spotify is coming under fire. Earlier this month, 270 medical professionals wrote an open letter. Y'all should check some of this stuff, bro. I don't know if y'all saw this. I'm gonna see if it's still there. Nope, they're not going. Here, let me see if this is it. Damn it. Oh, look at some of the, okay. These are the 270 medical professionals. Medical resident, postdoctoral fellow, assistant professor of emergency medicine, assistant professor. You're a PhD. How's that a medical professional? It's literally not a professional. You're an academic. That's not even a professional. by everything we know to be true when it comes to classifying a job, that is not codified as a medical professional. A medical professional is someone who has a professional degree. This isn't it. MD, see, MD, that's a medical professional. What's another one? PhD, associate medical writer. Listen, Art and Health, clinical microbiology MS student. Bruh. Well, hell, then I guess our Franco from Frank Analysis must be a medical professional then, according to this. A.S. Richards, research fellow science communicator. What is a science communicator? What the Asher Williams, PhD. Do y'all actually even have 100? Are there even 100 actual medical professionals on this 200 and list of 270 medical professionals? Like, this is crazy, bro. Science teacher, Natalie Soto. Science teacher is a medical professional now. You want to talk about spreading some goddamn misinformation? Jesus Christ, these people are not even medical professionals. But they claim it as if it is true, and then will attack Joe Rogan for just having someone on his show. This is crazy, bro. Anyway. Oops. Anyway, so as you can see here, it just keeps saying the same thing, but without actually substantiating this claim or corroborating this claim that he's spreading misinformation. It says it's accusing him of spreading misinformation. It says Rogan has repeatedly used its platform, talking about Spotify, with millions of listeners to discuss the COVID-19 pandemic and vaccinations, once saying that young adults don't need to get a shot. If you're a healthy person and you're exercising all the time and you're young and you're eating well, like, I don't think you need to worry about this. Oh, well, the numbers bear out that he's probably right. I mean, it's like this. I don't worry about the flu because I work out regularly. I generally eat pretty well. And I take vitamins and other precautions to ensure that if I don't get sick, and if I do get sick, it's mild. It's only for a couple days. Now, if you would have said something like, oh man, you might get the bubonic plague if you don't get the, well, that's a whole different conversation. But he also didn't say, don't get the shot. But notice how they also added right here. But Rogan added, he is not a doctor or a respected source of information. So why are you attacking him? Why are you forcing? This is why I don't think he should have apologized for. He didn't do anything wrong, bro. Rogan also defended his decision to book Dr. Malone, an infectious disease specialist who has become well known among anti-vaccine Americans and was banned from Twitter for spreading COVID misinformation. What is the misinformation? What is the misinformation, bro? What is it? Leonard Trust Fund, thank you very much for the super ray on Rokfin. Thank you for continuing to expose the hypocrisy. I try, man. I try. Now, there probably, rightfully so, is some speculation as to what exactly caused Joe Rogan to apologize. Because I'm kind of surprised. Spotify is based in Sweden. The headquarters are in Sweden. I think the founders are both from Sweden. Spotify, to my knowledge, hasn't been owned by anybody else yet. The co-founders still own a majority of the shares. However, you got investment or venture capitalist firms like Morgan Stanley own a significant portion of Spotify. Like, I think Morgan Stanley owns like 9%. It's a lot, considering I think the next up, it's like they're in top 4. I think the next one is a UK venture capitalist company, and then the next 2 are the co-founders at like 11% a piece or something like that. So it only takes a couple phone calls, bro. And I think that somebody basically put their finger on the button and pressed Rogan and Spotify. That's scary stuff. Because if I'm not mistaken, people, If I'm not mistaken, Rogan has never really been one to apologize for a damn thing. Rogan's the whole reason he got like, I don't say he's, listen, you know what's wild? They say that he has people on that spread misinformation. I would say that's partially true because if you look at some of the names here. Look at some of these names that he brought on. Okay, swear he only brings on doctors they don't like. Joe Rogan literally had Sanjay Gupta, Josh Zebs, Rhonda Patricks, Billy Corbin, and all on his show advocating for the jab and lockdowns. But when he has Dr. Malone on and Peter Koloff, his show, on his show, excuse me, it's a problem. These people are not serious. I agree. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's yet another example of our doctors. We want you to only trust our doctors in our science, not the science. They don't want parity. They don't want discussion. They don't want debate. They want blind, unadulterated loyalty and faith in the narrative. No one, when Joe Rogan said, I've taken this concoction to help get over COVID and I beat it, is that spreading misinformation? Unless he's lying about taking the concoction that involved ivermectin, if he's lying about ever having COVID, and if he's lying about beating it, which all seem to not be true, he seemed to be honest about all three of those things. How is that spreading misinformation? He's saying that this is what he did to help himself get better. So he's not spreading it himself. And the article even caveats by saying, well, he also admitted he's not a doctor. And he's also not a trusted source of information. Dr. Malone, however, is a doctor and is a trusted source of information. McCullough, same thing. At least they were until... Hell, if I'm not mistaken, McCullough used to work for Pfizer. Am I mixing him up with somebody? But, let's check this out real quick. They don't have his job listed on here actually, which is interesting. But I almost feel if it's not him, it's someone else. But I want to say Rogan has had him on too. But either way, you have Sanjay Gupta come on. CNN asked for Sanjay Gupta to come on. Guess what? Even though I'm not a fan of Sanjay Gupta, I am very glad Joe Rogan had an opinion that might differ from his or other people that he's had on. That is called parody. That is being a good interviewer. That is also being honest. That is also showing that Rogan has nothing to hide and he is not scared to talk to people because of any perceived narrative that he is trying to stay in line with. He stayed true to himself in a sense that I'm willing to talk to anybody, mainstream or obscure. CNN, however, won't talk to Dr. Malone, won't talk to Peter McCullough and others. So what does that say about them? Fauci, hell, CNN, Fauci, MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post, The Lancet, Bill Gates, Sanjay Gupta, his damn self, Rachel Maddow. I mean, the list does go on. All of them have been caught spreading misinformation. Hell, they've spread information that Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, they've literally spread information that directly contradicts the information they gave just a couple of weeks before. The CDC will come out and say one thing. Biden will come out and say something completely different. And yet all of them are just still hanging out on social media, on Twitter, etc., not being held accountable for anything. Weird, huh? It's crazy how that works. I want to talk to you all about one last thing before we get up out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, this might come as a shocker to you, but did you know there are times, people, there are times where Big Pharma actually believes that it is okay to bribe people. They bribed officials, people. Can you believe that? Big Pharma would never. I know that's what you're thinking, but here we are. The story's right here. And we all know this, the news always tells the truth. NHS officials took 70,000 euro bribes from drug companies to recommend their medicine to GPs. NHS officials took 70,000 euros from drug companies to recommend their medicines to GPs, a court was told. General provider, I'm assuming that's what that means. Medicine boss Paul Jerem and Dr. David Turner allegedly acted as paid influencers for pharmaceutical companies by promoting prescription drugs to doctors in exchange for secret payments. Jurors were told that Jerem was paid by businessman Noel Staunton, whose consultancy firm represented pharmaceutical companies. As a result of their corrupt 7-year scheme on the Isle of Wight, the court heard the integrity of NHS doctors making honest recommendations about prescription drugs was breached, and medicines were improperly pushed to GP surgeries and advisory boards. Oh, and advisory boards too, you say? Now, obviously, ladies and gentlemen, this is in the UK. This is not in the US. However, pharmaceutical companies have more influence over healthcare officials in the US than they do in the UK, if you can believe that. So, now this isn't me saying this. This is the courts. This is UK courts, British courts. Okay? This isn't me. So what you're telling me is that general practitioners or primary care providers and advisory boards and other healthcare officials, they saw one science, right? They knew and accepted generally one science when it came to the prescribing of medications to their patients. They knew that there was a science that they should rely upon when making that decision. But upon being offered a, let's just say, incentive to ignore the science they knew, but instead push a separate science, not previously generally accepted, but accepted now that money has been introduced into the picture, all of a sudden, this science wasn't the science anymore, but now this science is now the science. And the patients were just told to trust said science. That said science is now the generally accepted science. And the courts say, not Niko, just the courts. The courts actually say that taking bribes, if you can believe this, from drug companies led to corruption in the decision-making of medical professionals. Well, hold up. Now, is there something happening right now where pharmaceutical companies are getting massive kickbacks monetarily, having some of their drugs pushed onto the general public, okay? After donating hundreds and hundreds of millions to politicians over the last decade or so? In addition to donating hundreds and hundreds of millions to the FDA, which approved a lot of this stuff, And then, of course, having the revolving door from the FDA into the pharmaceutical industry, and then having the pharmaceutical industry send people into the FDA, and then having people from Congress go into the pharmaceutical industry. Okay. So if the courts are saying that money from healthcare professionals or money paid to healthcare professionals and healthcare officials by pharmaceutical companies creates an environment of corruption that could lead to the science not being the science when the science needs to be the science, are you trying to tell me that there is a small chance, it's just a tiny little chance, that maybe some of the decision making that we've been dealing with lately could actually be a reflection of the money being given to them by the pharmaceutical industry rather than the science? And that this idea of trusting the science is complete and total bullshit? Is that what you're trying to tell me? That's what it seems like. Because I was assured, people, that even by some leftists, I've been assured that it is silly for me to think that even though pharmaceutical companies have shown me over and 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 over again that we cannot trust them, that they will fail us, that people will die, and that we should just accept it. Even though they've shown me to be that, I've been attacked by leftists, supposedly they're leftists, for not trusting them this one time, because this is different. This one is the different one, actually. The pharmaceutical industry is making more money right now than they've ever made because of, you know what I'm talking about. And this is supposed to be the different time. Yeah, the difference is they've been given more, they're making more money now than they've ever made before. That's the difference. So there's a higher likelihood that we're being lied to. There's a higher likelihood that the environment created between this revolving door between the FDA, the pharmaceutical industry, and Congress has created a breeding ground for corruption. I mean, this is logic. This is the simplest of logic. In a national healthcare system, people, literally a system where everything's just paying for itself for the most part. Not literally, because there's obviously taxes and things like that. But even in that system where you would think that doctors wouldn't have, or advisors or things like, they wouldn't be taking that kind of money to influence those type of outcomes, because you would assume that everybody has enough, it won't be necessary. But corruption seems to find the smallest of crevices to creep through when it needs to. And that's a decent healthcare system. Now imagine ours, where there's effectively no accountability. Makes you wonder, don't it? It makes you wonder. That's all I'm saying. I'm not gonna say no names because I'm not trying to be kicked off of the tubes. I'm not gonna say what we talking about, but we all know what I'm talking about, right? Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Okay. So before we go, ladies and gentlemen, I need y'all to do me a favor. Y'all remember, I don't know, some of you all might remember, my wife is actually in a modeling competition right now because she's pretty dope. And she advanced through 2 rounds of the group stage because my baby's amazing. So she is actually in the last stage of the group stage before they go on to like the final rounds. And I need y'all's help. If y'all go vote for her, I would greatly appreciate it. I'm about to put the link right now. It's in the YouTube description, or it's in the YouTube chat. Boom, boom. I would consider it a personal favor. You know what I'm saying? My wife definitely has always been supportive of me living my dream, and has always been supportive of me doing my thing, you know? And so I always feel like it's really important for me to do the same for her, and this is me doing that. Plus, she just is amazing. I'm sure that a lot of people wouldn't mind looking at her anyway. So I posted a link in the YouTube subscription or description or chat. Goddamn. I posted a link in the YouTube chat. Now I'm posting Hope I posted the right one. Yeah, I posted the link in the YouTube chat. Now I'm posting it in Rokfin. Boom, boom. And if you voted before, you can vote again. You can actually vote once a day if you choose. But just make sure to vote, man. And she would greatly appreciate it. I would greatly appreciate it. She is so close to it. She just actually she's in 3rd place right now. So she was like 5th out of 15 maybe a month ago. All the other 15 got eliminated except for the top 5, and then she's got boosted up to 3rd place yesterday. So we got to try to get her to 1st place in the next 3 days so she can get on to the last stage of the competition, which would be major for her. She would be on the cover of a magazine and all kinds of cool stuff. So it's a really big opportunity for her. So I appreciate everybody helping out there. And Joe Rogan shouldn't have apologized for a damn thing. Sorry, I just had to say that before I go, because this is bull. I do not think he did anything wrong. I really hope that Joe Rogan stays true. Because him saying that he needs to bring on more mainstream people, Rogan actually gets criticized sometimes by his own base because he still brings on mainstream people. That, like, I don't know if y'all recall, like, remember when he brought on Barry Wise? He got criticized for bringing on Gupta. He gets criticized by his own base for bringing on mainstream people. But I am okay with it because you're offering parity. He's not bringing them on and then not questioning them like he questions everybody else. He does it to everybody. He also does. They also say he needs to do more research. He does his research right on air, so everybody, like live, where everybody can listen to him. Bro, he shouldn't have apologized. That's just how I feel about it. Anyway, let me know what y'all think about this. Like this video, share this video, leave a comment below. Oh yeah, real quick before we go too, and I do gotta go because I have like a thing I have to be at. But if you are on the email listserv, and some of you are, we have like 6,000, almost 7,000 people on the email listserv. One, if you want to be on the email listserv, I'm trying to figure out a good way for y'all to let me know. Oh, you know what I'll start doing? If you want to be on the email listserv, make sure you join the Telegram, subscribe to our Telegram channel. That way I'll post a link for you to join the listserv yourself. Make it easy for everybody. But some people have told me that my emails, although the email is coming, like when we're going live or whatever, it's coming from my personal email. It's a Gmail account, and therefore, you know how that goes. Gmail is screwing and putting us in spam, and people aren't seeing it. So let me know if that's happening for you, because I'm trying to find a resolution to that so that y'all can actually get the email updates. So that sound good, people? Oh, hold on. Somebody said he wasn't actually apologizing. He was just being sarcastic. I hope that's the case. I hope that is the case. But anyway, yeah. So subscribe to that Telegram, and I'll go ahead and I'll make sure to regularly post email links so that y'all can become part of the listserv. Sound good, everybody? All right. Other than that, like this video, share this video, leave a comment below, but always remember, more than anything else, find your balance.